Guys, Deluded Guna, I'm back again. Obviously, as well as Fridays, Sundays, Q&A days. Thank you very much for your questions, guys. A lot of you gave me a lot of questions via my direct messages and via Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on over a lot of things. And I can't thank you guys enough, man. Thank you very much, man. I've got the questions printed out here. Camera don't want to allow me to show you guys. So yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's crack on. I'm going to try something different. Rather than go from top to bottom, I'm going to go from bottom to top, if that makes sense. So let's crack on. JP Jackson asks, Nzonzi or Fabinho? For me personally, Fabinho. Oh, that's a tough one. I feel Nzonzi's got a lot of technical qualities. People downplay and just label him as this brute defensive mid sort of guy that breaks down possession. You can claim he's that, but he couldn't be, by the same logic, he couldn't be the further thing from that. It's a tough one, man. But I'd probably say Fabinho. I'm surprised he's still there, to be honest with you. I really am. He's a very good player. He can improve. He can improve in several aspects. I know he gets a lot of praise for breaking down play, which he's good at, but I do think he can improve in that, especially in a tackle. He could be a bit more assertive and firm, but he covers a lot of ground. He retrieves the ball a lot. He would make a difference. I love the guy, and I can't understand why he's not rated when it comes to the Brazilian national team, because he should be there. He's got an eye for a pass as well, man. Lovely ball. Who is it? I think it was against Saint Etienne. He played one lovely ball for Lamar to go and score. But yeah, Fabinho for me, my guy. Barry asks, do you think Zidane's job is on the line, or does he get a free pass to the end of the season to try and make things right for the next season? In an ideal world, to answer that question, what you just said, the latter part of that question, in an ideal world, you would think he'd get an extra time, and they would allow him to have a bit of a wobble and things like that after delivering back-to-back Champions Leagues and a league title and things like that. It's all been going right for Zidane, but it still is Real Madrid. Granted, they're not really on the Galactico thing, it appears, like they used to do, and there's a bit more stability that's of recent years that's been added to Madrid with the same players. 9 times out of 10 back in the days, they would sign a star every summer. That hasn't been it. But it is Madrid, you never know. I'd like to think he gets a bit of time because he seems to have the dressing room on his side. But it is Madrid, and it doesn't matter what you've previously won. If you're not doing it now, you'll get clipped, to be honest. Just look at Carlo Ancelotti. It don't really matter. So my guess, my brain is telling me that he may not have much time if this continues. My heart is telling me that he'll get more time. So yeah, I think they'll give him more time. I'd like to think. That's the purist in me, but it's Madrid, so take it that way you want it. Next question. Pardon me. Sean89 asks, thoughts on defending in the Premier League. Is it getting better, or is it getting worse? Or is the attacking getting better? It's a bit of both, to be honest. We know the game favours attackers now. Everybody wants to see great attacking sides and things. I'm not here to defend Jose, but part the bus back in the days, or even in Italy to a degree. That sort of stuff might not be praised, but it's respected. Defending is respected. The importance of defending is there. Most people, I'm not saying they don't understand it, but it seems to be we just want to go forward. And added to that, I don't feel on a general basis defenders are as good as they used to be. They're not as smart. I don't feel footballers are as smart. The game favours attackers too much. You can barely make a tackle nowadays and things like that. I mean, could you imagine back in the days when it used to be 1-0 to the Arsenal, boring Arsenal? All of these things won't get praised. Nowadays, if you score 2, people want 4. So I'd say the game is getting more it's always been favoured attackers, but it's favouring attackers more. Both teams are really starting to have a go nowadays, and I just feel defending is dying. But whether it's tackles, whether it's ref decisions, whether it's just teams and things like that, the defending's gone a bit different. It's more pressing from the front. It's not defending per se. Look at City, look at Liverpool to a degree as well. So I'd say you're right, to be honest. Attacking is getting better and defending is getting worse because defending's not being favoured, to be honest. I mean, look at Eric Dyer. He's making the same mistakes. Could you imagine in the 80s if he kept doing that, if he'd be playing football anymore? He wouldn't, would he? So hopefully that answers your question, man, my guy. Easy one answers. At what age could you say the average footballer hits his prime, and how could you know someone has hit their prime? Well, you can't really know, to be honest. I'd say around anything from 25 to around 29 or 30, to be honest. That's when I'd say, in fact, let me say 20. I'd say 23 for a midfielder or anyone is when you should really start asserting yourself. Okay, you're a deep line playmaker, you're a box to box. We don't really know a lot of these footballers that age is what they are, but that's really what you should be. If you're a striker, I'd say around 26-30, you should be going into it. But I don't want you to get stuck up on titles, on ages. I'd say in simplest terms, I mean, it's when everything seems to be going right, or they're at the prime of their physical, or they're in the best shape physically and mentally they've been. We can't really see mentally, but physically, if he's a defender, is he dealing with all his tackles? Is he marking out the best in the game? Is he having convincing performances against the best, turning in performances week in, week out? Striker, is he just bagging 20 goals? Is he scoring against everybody? Is he just moving savage? Is he getting better at certain things? So it is really, that's an ambiguous question. 9 times out of 10, I'd say the average footballer, probably from 25, 26, should really be entering their finest part of their career where they're going to play their best football up until 30, to be honest. But we've seen some players peak early. Cesc Fabregas, Wayne Rooney, you could even say Lionel Messi to a degree, all peaked very early. Because, I mean, if we look at all of them, they were all teenage stars. But I don't know, my guy. And some people peaked later. It might not be the best example, but Aubameyang and Bale, they weren't playing their best football for a while, to be honest. Don't you remember Bale was on the verge of joining Forest, and Aubameyang was floating between these French clubs, and he was a Milan Rebor and things like that. So there's not really any answer to the question, my guy, man. So yeah. Rax117 asks, thoughts on Charlie Gilmore? For those who don't know, he's a young player at our academy. Well, in his initial days as a scholar, he was very unlucky with injuries. Wenger favours him. I don't think he'll make it here. He's been playing at centre half a couple of times. He's a central midfield player. He's very techie, Scottish international. He's got a lot of techers. He's got an eye for a pass, similar to Burton. I like him. I don't really think he'll make it here. I'd love to be wrong. I mean, I love kids to come through. I just don't really think he's got it with him. But it was nice to see him on the Europa League bench, to be honest with you. He's got wonderful technical qualities, and he's just been unlucky with injuries throughout his time as a full-time pro. And you've got another question. And Zonzi was at the Emirates. Do you think it was for Liverpool or for us? Well, your guess is as good as mine, bro. I don't know, man. I'd like to think it's us because I've seen more links with Zonzi to Arsenal than Liverpool. But you never know, to be honest with you. Only those in the know. I guess we'll find out in January or the summer. I'm not a clue, my guy. So yeah, they call me Med7 answers, why can't I lose respect for Arsene Wenger when he spat in our faces with a new deal? I mean, you don't have to respect him if you don't want to. That's up to you, my guy. I mean, I personally respect the man and have an admiration for what he's done, but I can't tell you who to respect and who not to. And you've got, why as a younger fan, 16 in brackets, must I respect Wenger and his greatness, and he's brought me nothing but pain? Well, that's a pretty silly comment, isn't it? I share your frustrations. He does need to call it a day and allow us to kick on to the next level, but that's silly. I mean, you said you're born in 16. You're 16, so you was born around 06, 07. Up until last year, all you knew was top 4. You've got numerous FA Cups and Cups, and etc. Most clubs will pay for that. Most clubs would love that. Again, it's underwhelming and it's not what we want, but come on, you could have had it a lot worse. And Arsenal have definitely been a lot worse in your before your 16 ages. I mean, again, you said, why have you got I think there were 2 questions. I share your frustrations, but this is silly. It's silly. It just stinks of entitlement from yourself. There's clubs that's been in a lot worse. Those of you that are old enough to remember Arsenal in the 80s, not me, we were always getting top 4 and these things like that. We would have loved to get it. We in the same way that Graham took us up a level and Wenger took us up a level, and hopefully the next man will take us up a level. You have to appreciate. If you don't know your past, how can you appreciate your present and know where you want to go for the future? I mean, that's dumb. I mean, like a bit of an extreme example, but I wasn't around when Martin Luther King and these people were about. Do I need to have been around for me to respect them and appreciate what they've done? Or once upon a time in England, where many black British people didn't even consider people good enough to drive buses, and now I see black bus drivers everywhere and train drivers everywhere, and I don't need to think about it. Do I have needed to been around them to appreciate them? No, I get your frustrations. I share your sentiment, but it's nonsense, because this man has brought you top 4. This man has given you trophies. Like to suggest he's brought you nothing but pain. He's brought us stress but pain. When you consider other clubs, you're talking crap there, and that's just entitlement. Like you said, you're 16, and if you're 16 as well, no, I'm not even taking shots at you. But like, how many times did we finish 4th? Graham done madness for us and got us European Cup wins, but how many times did he consistently win a league or finish in the top 4, even if there was a top 4 then? Go and do your research before saying nonsense. I wasn't around with Graham, but I can appreciate the foundation he left, the winning mentality, the players, the back 4 he left. So come on now, man. That's I share your frustration, and you don't have to respect anyone. I'm not your dad. I don't know, but I just think that's very stupid, to be honest with you. It's like, nah, man. I'm not. The next question. Mike asks, would you take David Luiz at Arsenal? We've got worse, so depending on the price, of course. To be honest with you, playing defensive mid, it'd be a bit of a train wreck, but no more so than the players that he already. I'd like better targets, but yeah. Aslan Baka asks, One question: who do you think is better, Harry Winks or Henderson? Harry Winks is twice the player. Henderson is technically, like, if it's just based on technical ability and just who I'd like in my team, Jordan Henderson can't talk to Winks at all. So yeah. Matt 4K asks for your Q&A, when making cereal, do you pour the milk or the cereal first? I mean, I do both, to be honest with you. I'd say the cereal technically, because then how you gonna know how much milk you're gonna need, my bro? But I prefer Weetabix. I don't really like cereal. I eat cereal like it's crisp. I don't really like milk and cereal. I'm weird like that. But yeah, Prince of Somalia asks, who's your top 5 players in the league? That's a tough one, bro. Man, I can't do 5, man. I have to do about 10. Alexis, love hate, but Alexis, Mesut Ozil. I'm gonna just do attackers. Alexis, Mesut Ozil, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, Raheem Sterling, Sergio, Pogba, Kane, Salah, Firmino, Coutinho. There's bare man. I can't, bro. I can't. Alright, cool. Let me try. Ozil, Kevin De Bruyne, Pogba. Have I said Ozil? Ozil, Kevin De Bruyne, Pogba, Sterling, David Silva, man. They're the 5 at the moment. I can't know, man. Take my first answer. That was a good question that put me on the spot, man. And that's a very hard question for a football purist. Thanks very much, Prince of Somalia. GK asks, thoughts on Timothy Weah? Now, I like him a lot. He's he's the son of George Weah, young USA international playing for PSG. He impressed at the Under-20 World Cup, I believe. Yeah, that is where I saw him. He impressed a lot, man, and I hope he goes on to have a good career. He's very positive. He's good 1 versus 1. He's very direct. Obviously, PSG with the riches. It's anyone's guess as to whether he makes it. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. RP145 asks, being a fullback, what do you make of Jamie Carragher once said about fullbacks? They are either failed centre-halves or failed wingers. Obviously, a large part was to make fun of Gary Neville, but how true do you think it is? It's true to a degree, bro. That burnt, but it's true to a degree, man. I mean, nobody wants to play fullback, really. I mean, nowadays you do with Alves and stuff, and I tried to model my game on Alves, but you could say that. I used to play as a winger, and I got moved back, and if I was to have made it as a footballer, I would have made it as a fullback, definitely not as a winger. And when you look at guys like Bellerin or other examples like that, if they were actual wingers, would they make it or be playing for top clubs like this? You'd have to say no, because they don't score, they don't assist. Bellerin's end product isn't the best. He's a right back, so he gets away with it. But if he was a right winger, would we have time for these poor crosses? No. So there is a lot of truth into that, to be honest with you. And yeah, it is true. Yeah, not everybody, but it's true. Lastly, Carl E. Story asks, do you have any advice for an African-American soccer coach who wants to coach at the highest level in America? America is easier to accomplish your dreams than England because of the gates. I'd say find the club that you want to coach at, whether that's your local team or whatever. Try and get your foot in the door. Coach their foundation sides, under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, whatever. Move your way up. Try and go on scouting missions. Try and go on coaching missions and shadow coach the older lot and build up positive relations and then get your way in there, man. That's all I could say for you. Guys, Deluded Gooner, I'm signing out. It's been a lovely Q&A. Thank you very much for the questions I've received. I've enjoyed doing that, especially Prince of Somalia's question. That put me on the spot, and I'm going to think about it right now. Yeah, man, I know I say this every vid. Enjoy your Christmas. Enjoy your New Year. Comment, subscribe, like all my stuff for me. Hit the subscribe button. Comment if you've got any opinions. Ask them questions, man. Ask them questions. DG, I'm out. I love you guys. I'm out.